So normally I'll raise a certain breed of chicken for raising up chicken for my own family, but you can definitely butcher out your roosters, or you can raise specific breeds that are good for eggs that are also good for meat. I like Cornish crosses. They grow pretty quickly, and they're all white, and they get pretty fat pretty fast. They can get way too fat too fast if you just free feed them. So I just like to feed in the morning and then in the evening, and just let them go out and forage and free range during the day if possible. You can get them up, extremely big, and they can cause harm to themselves because they get so big so fast. They could hurt their legs or their hearts or anything like that. So just do your research, obviously. So today we're just going to be using a killing cone that I like. That's the way I most prefer. When they go upside down, they go into a trance, and they're more comfortable. Plus, when you have to cut their jugular, they bleed out a lot faster. I don't prefer the old school like stump and an axe thing. I'm not a very good aim, so that would be pretty cruel. I don't want to cut like half his poor head off. So anyways, what I'll be doing is putting him in the cone and then letting him calm down for a minute, and then cut on both sides of his neck. You can kind of feel where the vein comes down, and you want to make sure you make a nice slit across and not just cut his skin, because then you're gonna have to make a couple other cuts. And we want it to just be the fastest that we can make it and the most humane that we can make it. So then I'll let him bleed out until it just goes down to a trickle, and then he'll be gone. And then I'll just cut his head off, and then I'll put him in the scalding pot, which I'll talk about after that. Okay? Okay. So hopefully I cut this big enough, because I had to make this cone on the fly this morning. So let's see if we have any problems. Which, knowing my luck, we probably will. And then watch your head.
I'm here. Can you help?
Thank you. Watch your head, because you will get pooped on in the face. And that won't be very fun. So they like to suck their little heads up. So just reach up and let them kind of relax. And I think this will be fine. Let's see. I'm gonna have to cut it more. Might have to cut it more. Will you hold this chicken? This first. So I'm gonna have to cut it more just real quick, because I don't want to. So now he'll just kind of go into a little daze. I'm trying not to cut myself, because this is really tough plastic. You could buy, you could actually rent equipment for this, guys. You could go to like Thurston County, like conservation, I think it is, and you can rent a whole setup, which has the cones. I don't think I can. Which will have the cones and a little tray. Actually, yeah. And a little tray that all the blood will actually pull into, so you could do 6 birds at a time. And it's also really handy because you could do different birds as well, and you could do turkeys and. And it's only like $25, and you can rent it for a whole weekend, and it's really handy if you guys want to do like a larger amount of birds at one time. Oh, did I already get all the way over here? And you can make your own fancy cone at home, like this.
Out of a traffic cone.
Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. Thank you. So now he's nice and relaxed.
Is his body too big?
No. I do.
Maybe.
Get back here. Guess I should have tried this out beforehand, guys. Sorry.
He's okay. Well, you just put in the time to do it as humanely as possible.
Because I don't want to do it too short and then not make a good cut, and then he's perfectly happy laying upside down just like that.
There we go.
Okay.
Here we
Third time's the charm, right?
go. Yep.
Maybe. See, now you can actually see his whole neck, his head. So you're just gonna go down the sides, both sides right there. And get your fancy little bucket. And you want to kind of part the hair so you can actually feel what you're doing, or the feathers. Thank you, chicken. Just like that. And you could talk to your chicken and pet your chicken and thank your chicken.
Thank you, chicken.
And I just prefer just to hold on because I don't want them thrashing about, and then, I mean, that saves your area from getting really messy and yourself from getting really messy, and it does get kind of gruesome to have them flipping out, so. So then we'll just continue to let him drain for a little bit longer. And by this point, he's lost so much blood already that he's probably already passed out.
Claire, stay away from that pot. It's very hot. It will burn you.
And then for these bigger roosters, since he's, you know, probably already a year and a half old, the neck's gonna be harder to cut. So if you wanna use like shears or something, I don't mind, just I can find the right spot and get, you know, a couple swipes. But for the meat chickens, they're, you know, they're only, you slaughter usually at 8, you know, 10 weeks. So they're a lot easier to cut the head off. So I might have to try it a couple of times. Plus the skin's a lot thicker on these roosters than the other ones are. So I'm probably gonna make just 2 cuts on either side and wrap it off. Watch yourself, babe. And that's all she wrote. So it's dead. It doesn't have a brain. It doesn't have any blood left in him. So that's just all the nerves firing throughout its body. When you raise, you know, chickens or rabbits or anything, you can gut it, you can skin it, you can throw the heart out, and 2 minutes later, the muscles are still spasming on these animals. It's crazy. So we'll wait a second until he stops thrashing about because we don't want to put him in the scalding water.
Come back in the fall fair where Emma actually dispatches a rabbit. That's really fun.
Just by feeling the temperature of the water with my finger, but ideally you want it to be about 145, like 150. For roosters like this, you're probably going to want to do it a little bit warmer. Just test it out here and there, because if you do it too warm, it's actually will start cooking the skin. The skin will be yellow instead of that nice white skin. So you should be able to put your finger in for just a second without getting burned. So then, June, you might want to stand back a little bit because it might overflow. So you normally can use a bigger pot, but this is all we had. So you'll just put them in, swirl them to get underneath the feathers, and then you'll pull them out and let them sit for a second. And this will just make the feathers slide right off. So you'll want to do a couple dips.
How many times have you done this, Elliot? With your mom?
Well, you've done it once by yourself.
How many times has your mom done it? A million. A million?
Uh-huh. And then make sure you're swirling all the way up to their legs here, because this is all, you know, the drumstick, and you want to be able to pluck that. So once that's all done, you can try out here and see if they fall out easily. Then you're done. Skin's still white, it's perfect. And then test a couple of the flight feathers, because those are going to be the hardest, and they come out with ease.
You were less than 60 seconds in there with about 3 swirls.
Yeah, perfect.
30, 45 seconds.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the water might be actually a little bit too warm for like my regular meat birds, because the skin is so tender, but for this rooster I did a little bit warmer. So I'm going to hang him up by his feet and then pluck him, and if anybody wants to come up and just feel how easy they come out.
When you dump them in the water, how hot is the water? Just boiling?
145? No.
Oh, okay.
145.
Okay.
Yep. After, I mean, the more you do it, the faster you can pluck them. I want you to let me talk to these people, please. So a lot of people will rent like the pluckers, and they're like a big like a washing machine kind of, with a bunch of silicone fingers on there, and you throw them in, you turn a hose on them, and they go, and these little fingers beat the feathers off. But you have to take them off, you have to pluck them by hand anyways to get the rest of them off. So I just prefer to tag team. I have 2 people, and we can have a whole bird plucked in like less than 2 minutes. The more you get to know. Just remember just to rub with the feathers, and they come off, you know, in a pinch. So, in a cinch.
In a cinch.
In a cinch, pinch.
Pinch my cinch.
He's smaller than your Cornish cross, isn't he?
I don't raise my Cornish crosses up that big, so he's, I mean, imagine big breasts on it, and the thighs to be a lot bigger. But I mean, generally, I probably do, you know, 4.5 pound Cornishes, only because my family can't sit down and eat a whole chicken.
Right.
And I just prefer them not to be as big. Huh? Well, we're just trying to get it done because we're trying to gut him next, babe. And if you have any of these flight feathers that you can't get out, you can go ahead and just get a pair of pliers and pull them out. But this scalding water was absolutely perfect. I have no complaints. And when you have a good helper.
We've never done this together.
When we do
I can tell.
chickens, I mean, it is, when we do anything really, you know, pigs, or if, you know, my sister, my brother go out hunting, it's a family affair. Everybody gets together and helps out, and then, you know, we all get to share the bounty. So that's what's really awesome about being able to raise your own food. Everybody helps out, and everybody benefits also. Plus it, you know, makes lighter work. So with the meat birds, you don't get these weird hairs that come off. But if you can't pull them off, you can see them if you want to come up and look at them. If you can't pull them off and they bug you, you can just take a torch and burn them off real quick. But all chickens have them. Just the Cornish crosses don't. They don't get old enough to get them. And if you have an old hen that you need to butcher, or roosters, definitely you can try, you know, cooking them whole. I haven't found an older bird that I can, you know, just eat like that. I just like to throw them in the Instapot or throw it in the crock pot and make soup or anything of that sort. And then you don't have to go crazy. Definitely when you're going to be cutting them up or packaging them, you could pull off the last little bit that you see. So this is pretty darn good.
Are you gonna
and I'm going to be cutting them up at home. Yeah, I'm going to be cutting them up at home and letting them rest. So you have to let these birds rest before you can freeze them. I like 24 hours.
in an ice bath?
I just inhaled my hair, sorry. I like 24 hours. You could put them in water with ice. That's what I prefer. Or you could put them straight in the fridge. That does dry out the skin. So that's why I like to just get like a big trough or a couple of coolers. And then you could put a bunch of ice in there and fill it with water and have them completely submerged for at least a day. So you could do pull feed at nighttime if you're going to slaughter the next afternoon. They're still going to be eating grass. Their crops can be full of grass and pebbles, but they don't have all that feed that's going to get all soaked and nasty. So I recommend pulling it the night before if you're going to do like a, you know, a noon slaughter.
My mom said, we're not.
Yeah. So if you can see here, we're going to want to make 2-3 cuts. So you'll go down sideways, and then you need to go around the bum. So I'll show you as I go.
Why don't you sit down so the people behind you can see?
Yeah. So this isn't my normal slaughter knife, and it's actually really dull, so bear with me. I just moved and I lost all my good stuff. But obviously there's guts behind there, so you need to make sure that you don't cut through and cut into their intestines, okay? So I'm just going down, and then I'm going to start my V here, and then I'll do a V there on the other side. And one thing with the roosters, they are going to have a lot of fat on them, so it'd be really good for, you know, a really good stew or a soup. better if I had a sharper knife. Sorry guys. It's usually a lot faster.
Where'd that razor go?
Right? And he's got a lot of fat, and the fat's hard to cut through.
That's not 20. Wow.
So you see all that yellow? That's all fat. That's a fat bird.
I can relate to that bird.
Yeah, right? He's got a little junk in his trunk. So you're gonna need to kind of go blind and feel through and actually find this bird's insides. And if you poke through and you puncture something, quickly remove it as fast as you can, and then just rinse it out as good as you can. If you let it sit there, it's gonna taint it, and it's not gonna be good to eat. All right, where are you, Guts? There you are. Huh? No, I don't need help right now. This bird needs to go on a diet.
Oh my god.
I know. Yeah. So to pull everything out in one big chunk, you need to make sure you cut the bum out. I'm just trying to get through all this fat. My goodness. Mm-hmm. Okay. Can't even see through all this fat. Good Lord. I'm gonna try to cut some of the fat out so I can actually show you guys the anatomy of this chicken. My goodness.
Still running into fat?
Oh yeah, this whole thing's fat.
Oh my. Oh my. It's full?
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Oh, my
Why
fat
did you
chicken.
get that bird then? Oh my.
Because it had a really, really good life, and it ate lots of good food and lots of good bugs, and it got fat.
Looks like a smushed. Looks like someone who ate a chicken. Looks like puke. Yeah, looks like puke the pack.
Okay, now maybe I can get in there.
Looks like that the chicken ate puke. Yeah, it does.
So you're gonna want to get in, and you're gonna start separating everything from the wall. There's the heart. And the more you do it, the more you'll be able to feel everything and disconnect everything. Just be gentle, but firm when you know you can be firm. Like on the little connective pieces, you can be pretty firm to rip all those out. So right now I'm just going in and taking everything off the walls, separating everything, pulling what needs to be pulled. And the first couple that you guys do are gonna take some time, and that's okay. Pulling. So then as you pull, you're gonna wanna kind of start letting everything fall out. And the only thing that's gonna be holding everything here at the end is gonna be the trachea. So then we'll slip our knife in there really carefully and we'll cut the trachea away. Yeah.
Lungs. Yeah, I can feel lungs. Can I have a lung?
And my kids did not like watching this at first, and now they take the feet and they walk around and act like dinosaurs and chase each other in the yard with them, and they have a lot of fun. And my son, he slaughtered start to finish by himself last year for the first time, and it was awesome.
We also used to give the
So now I just cut the trachea off as far as I could, and then you're gonna wanna follow all the way down to the bum, and then you'll cut around that.
we would also,
But with all this fat, it's pretty darn hard to see what I'm doing.
we also feed the liver to our dogs because they really like that.
And the lungs and whatever else they want. Yeah, and pigs love it.
Yeah. And we used to
And then you'll just cut all the way down, right there.
And we used to feed our dog Yukon dog hearts.
So now on the back of the chicken, back here in the ribs, the lungs are actually nestled inside there. So you're gonna need to take like your finger and actually scoop into the lungs and into the ribs and get the lungs out. I'll see if I can get any piece of it out. That's big enough.
What are those right there, Mom?
Huh? These guys?
Yeah.
The big old kidneys?
Can I have them?
No.
Can I feel hot?
Yeah.
Can I feel the hot?
So here's the lungs. And I mean, it is important to take everything out. You don't have to do it on all of your birds. But you need to, you know, see if there's spots on the lungs, see if everything looks healthy. I mean, obviously I would change up. If this was a normal, these aren't normally their meat birds. So if it was, I would definitely change their diet because it's, you know, they're way too fat. You're just losing all of that, you know, all the food you're putting into them. And it's just converting to fat. And then there's also another little part, kind of like the lungs, how it's in the ribs. And it's down towards the butt. And you'll need to scrape in there and just get it, you know, next time you get a chicken from a grocery store, look inside and see how it looks. And then just imitate with your own bird. Okay, I'm gonna rinse and see what I have on the inside. Down the neck all the way through because we need to get the crop out and the rest of the esophagus.
So again, you just want to cut the skin?
Yep. I save all the necks and all the feet because I make stock. And I just, you have to put it in like the same temperature of water, like a scalding pot for the feet. Dunk them a couple of times and then the skin will peel off, yeah.
Can you use kidneys for the kidney and heart?
I'm sure that would be wonderful. I just,
edible if you care for that.
yes, I am not into the organ meat and I just give them to, you know, the animals. Or if my mom's over slaughtering, she'll take a lot of the organs home with her because she enjoys them. Okay, so you'll pull that off. And then down here on the right, there's underneath the skin is always going to be their crop, which he has a little bit of food in. And you'll always find food, grass, bugs, a little bit of rocks. And you want to take that pouch out, which I'm trying to find it on this bird because the skin is so tough. So to find it easily, you could poke the hole all the way down through its neck. And then you could follow it up with your finger. And this one you do have to put a pretty good amount of pressure on it to pull it out. And it's just like a muscular pouch. If I can.
Crop break, and that's not going to taint anything.
No, preferably not.
Okay.
Preferably try not to, but I mean, with the meat birds, it's a lot easier to get out because this guy's so fat, and all of the connective tissues are so much more mature that it's a pain in the butt to get out. A lot of people, like Melissa here, who puts on the fair with us, she skins her birds out. She doesn't even mess with plucking them. That's what a lot of people prefer to do, but I like the skin on my birds, so it's just preference. Yeah, I like it like that. She butchers her chickens a lot differently than my family does. That's just the way her family prefers it. So I'm kind of just tearing this thing up, but my goodness. On the other birds, it's a lot nicer because I can pull it out in one piece and you guys can see what it looks like, but
That's what they mean by a tough old bird.
I know.
Mom, can I take the hot?
Yes. No, just, yeah.
And the legs.
They've got rods and stuff in there to grind up the legs.
Yep, that's how they grind up all their, well, the beginning of how.
It's first
Then-
stage before the stomach.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you can kind of see, it's this little thing full of feed. And I'm just trying to get it off the skin without ripping it too much.
Oh yeah. There you go.
Right there. Just a big muscle. Yeah.
No, I don't want the blood. What about the wings?
Oh, we'll get to that. Okay, so you can either just pull the esophagus out, is what I prefer to do. Just stick your finger in there, wrap around it, and then rip it out. Like she said, tough old bird, my goodness.
Yeah,
I know.
that is a big fat bird.
I'm not a fat that bird. It's just a rooster, so it's harder to. Huh? Cool. Okay, so that's all done. Oh, my back.
Oh my god.
So the next thing you need to do, you can either cut the feet off now, or you can get the oil gland. So that's how the chicken will oil its feathers, and you need to get that off before you cook the bird, because you don't want it to.
Where is it?
It's right here. You see this little tube
Oh, okay.
right there? So when the bird's alive, it'll actually turn into more of a liquid form. Right now it kind of looks like fat. I'll show you when I cut it off. So you just want to cut all the way around. You can cut the tail straight off, but I just cut it out.
Out the feet.
That's on the Cornish too, right?
Yes.
Ew. Ew. Stop it. Nice. Negotiable. Bye. Oh, yeah.
Like I said, if I had a better knife, my goodness, fail.
What is that? Chicken heart.
Yeah.
Gross.
It looks like a nose. It looks like a nose. It looks like a nose.
Don't put it on your face, please. That's too far.
I'm not putting it on my face. It looks like a nose.
Oh, come on.
I'm not putting it on my face.
Okay.
Yeah, if we had the equipment that we had last time,
Yep.
it would be a lot
Yep,
easier.
that's it.
Out the feet.
If we had our equipment, this would have
I know. So you can feel where where it bends here.
I have blood on me too.
Yeah, so you're gonna want to cut into there.
Mom,
And if you miss it, you can keep finding it and keep cutting.
out the feet.
Did I miss it again? No.
Boom.
Okay, this one has a spur, so be careful.
It's a spur.
It's what the boys have. That's how they fight.
Oh,
Ew, now I have blood on my hair. I have more than blood.
yeah.
It's mommy.
What?
Oh,
Put her finger through it.
Oh, kids.
What happens if the urine gets on meat?
What?
Tell me what happens.
I did it. It'll taint it. So I like to cut the neck off. You could freeze it with the neck totally, but I like to cut it off and put it in a separate bag, so I can make stock out of it. So just gonna cut it down at the base. If you have a sharp knife, don't cut yourself on a dull knife. Uh-huh.
Elliot. Oh my god. Oh.
Chicken. So rinse it off really good again. And then you could either choose to cut it up now and then let it sit for 24 hours. But it's a long day when you process like 50, 60 birds. So I just put them in a trough with ice water and let it sit for a day, and then make yourself a drink, have a beer, and process for like 5 straight hours.